Okay, so once you've created your Desmos account, you will be in the home page. In order to create a custom activity, you over here to the left, you're going to click on custom, and then these are my custom activities. And then here on the top right, where it says new activity, you'll click there. And then give your new activity a title. So I'm going to call it and this is for now, and I'm going to keep it at link. Anyone with the link can view because here I want to give this link to my students. So I'm going to create new activity. And one thing with Desmos is I like to have two tabs open because I've saved other Desmos that Desmos contributors have made, like this one by Kurt Salisbury. And I am going to, these are all check-in screens. And one of my favorites is this one. So I am going to copy up here on the top left, copy. I'm going to close that and I'm going back over here and I am going to paste. So I'm going to do Control V and paste it. So now I'm asking, which sloth are you? So students will say, today I'm feeling, and then click on one of the slots to indicate how you are feeling today. And I do want them to be able to see everybody else's response. And here I'm asking them, if you'd like, say more about your response below. And actually, I'm going to change that to if you would like to share something with Senora Fraire, do it here. And then I'm going to let them know that nobody else will see your response. Okay. And that's it. If I were to click this, show students their classmates' responses, they would be able to see each other's responses, but I am not going to. And if you want to see what this looks like to the student, you can click preview, and this is what students will see. Which sloth are you? Click on one of the slots to indicate how you are feeling today. Once they click, I'm going to say that I'm content, and then they could see everyone else's response. Notice this green shows up. And like I said, if this is optional. Okay, so that's one. So now I am going to add an activity. And so to add an activity, there's this plus up here. So I'm going to click on that and that's it here. But I am going to add ordered list because I want students to put the first part of the story in order. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to copy. I'm going back here, paste. You can also type, but since I already have the story, I am just copying and pasting, which is a lot faster. So I'm going to go back. Here is a sheet of paper, copy, paste, item, copy, paste, okay, and get rid of that extra space. And I'm going to tell them, place the beginning of the story in chronological order. Okay, I'm going to preview just to see what it looks like. And it's just very simple. I can add more if I'd like to, but students will drag and drop this wherever it needs to be in order. Now I am going to add a card sort. Card sort is where the students will have to pair up the image with the text. So I'm going to grab an image, and you have to already have the images saved. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to piedra, papel, tijeras, and I'm going to images. Okay, so I'm going to find this one actually. So this is Pepe walking down the hall. So I'm going to grab now some text, and I'm going to go back to my story, and I'm going to say Peter walks in the school hallway. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to paste it here. Okay. And I'm going to grab another image. And this time it's going to be this one. And I am going to grab more text. Oh, first I need to add a text card. I'm going to grab more text. And I think I'm going to add this one. Oops. Copy. I'm going to go back and I'm going to paste. And I'm going to add another image. And here you can add as many images as you would like. So I am going to add this one, where Peter is happy because he sees students. He sees some papers, some student papers. So I'm going to add the text and another image. So I'm going to add okay, and then I'm going to add some text for that image. I'm going to go back here, grab that, copy it, paste a little longer, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's all for now, and I'm going to take a look at the preview. This is what students will see, and I like to go back and forth from the preview to the activity that I'm creating just to see what it looks like. So when students work on this page, they are going to grab an image, and then they are going to, let's see, pair it up. And you see how it kind of turns blue? That means it'll stick. So it sticks together, and students can move it out of the way, or they can close it. Okay, so then I'm going to say Peter walks in front of the scissors. They look at Peter, but they don't speak to him. So I think it goes, it's this one. And then this one is Peter walks in the school hallway. He sees many students in the hallway, but he is afraid. This one. And this one goes with the papers are not nice. They are mean. They bully Peter. They push him, and he falls to the floor. One paper turns him upside down. Okay. When students do this activity, after they've paired them with the writing, I tell them, now put them in chronological order. Once you find the image with the text, put it in chronological order. So then, actually, I think I already have it in chronological order accidentally. So there it is. And then I'll call on students to read. Okay, read me the first thing that happens. And then Peter walks in the school hallway. He sees many students in the hallway, but he is afraid. And I'll tell them that's where you see just the back of Peter's head. Peter walks in front of the scissors. The scissors look at Peter, but they don't speak to him. That's Peter from a side view. While Peter is walking, he gets excited because he sees 3 students who are papers in the hallway. And then this is Peter smiling. And then the papers are not nice. They are mean. They bully Peter. They push him, and he falls to the floor. One paper turns him upside down. And that's how we check our answers. So as soon as you've placed images and captions, put some instructions here. So I'm going to say match the image with the caption. And one nice thing you can do with these is you can create an answer key. That way, when students are working on them, you can see if they are doing it correctly or not. So I'm going to create an answer key, and I am going to say Peter walks in the school hallway. He sees many students, but he is afraid. Okay, so these two go together. That's my answer key. I'm going to go ahead and close it to get it out of the way. Peter walks in front of the scissors. The scissors look at Peter, but they don't speak with him. So those two go together. That one out of the way. While Peter is walking, he gets excited because he sees three students who are papers in the hallway. Right here, he's excited. And then, let's see, he thinks maybe they are nice papers. Peter wants to have a friend, so that's next. And then the papers are not nice, they are mean because they turn around. And then here they bully Peter, they push him, and he falls to the floor. One paper turns him upside down. So these two go together, and I'm done. Now I'm going to preview once again, and this is how students will see it. It'll just be all scrambled everywhere. They can organize it however they want, but they have to put it together. So now I'm going to add another component, and this time I'm going to add some images. So to add image without using the card slot, like matching, I'm going to click on media. So then you're going to choose a file to upload. So I'm going to find a file. This one, I'm going to choose that one. And I'm going to add another. Okay, I want two images in this one. Okay, so I want to see what that looks like, just really quick. Okay, so there are two images of what happens next. I'm not adding any instructions here. What you can do here is add a text input box. Let's see what it looks like. But it might be too small. You can see it's down here. This is the text input box. Let's see what it looks like over here. So I'm going to delete any parts of this. All you have to do is these three dots, delete component. Here's what I had in mind. I'm going to add another, and on this one, I'm going to add the text input box because it gives the students a little more space. And then here I am going to say, describe what happens in the images of the previous slide. Oops. So I'm going to preview that. Describe what happens in the images of the previous slide. So notice here this arrow up here. I'm just, you can click back to see this. So students, okay, we've done that one. We go next. And now they could see this, but I'm going to go ahead and delete that component just to preview. So they see this, but I'm allowing them to go to the next slide. So maybe on that previous one, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say, study the images and describe them on the next slide. I'm calling them slides. Okay. So preview. So now the students see this. Study the images and describe them on the next slide. Actually, describe what happens next in the story on the next slide. Again, the following slide. Which next is going on here? Next. Study the images and describe what happens next in the story on the following slide. Okay, now I'm going to preview again. So they're going to look at this image and then this one, or these two. There are two here. And they're going next. And now they're going to describe what happens. And they can go back and forth. So they can go back and, okay, I'm going to go, now I'm going to If you don't like to do this, then you can do what I did here, where you add a text input box and it'll add it in here. So when students are here, they can describe here. Okay? So notice here it says share with class. So this means that after the student describes what's happening in the scene, it is going to share it with the classmate. If you don't want the class to see what other people are writing, then you just unclick that. So now when they type their response, it's just, notice here it just says submit. So I'll just see how it says submit there. That's the difference between share with class or submit. But some things I do share with the class because I want the other students to see samples of what they practiced. But it just depends on if they're reviewing or if they're learning something. Sometimes if they're learning something, I do like them to share with the class. If they're reviewing, it just depends. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Okay, so I am going to add a new component, and this time I'm going to add a multiple choice question. What is the scissors name? Susan, Sissy, Sarah, Kiki. And the answer is Sissy. Okay, and when you have a multiple choice question, you could actually have students explain their answer. So I'm going to preview that, and there it is. What is the scissors name? Susan, Sissy, Sarah, and Tihi. They may have actually mentioned that here when they're describing the scissors and what's happening, but in case they don't, I'm putting it here. So I'm going to add a question where students have to explain why they chose the answer they did. So for this one, I'm just going to make it a multiple choice because I'm making it true false. So I am going to say here that Peter, well, after school, Peter and Sissy go home in a taxi. Then they each go shopping. Say true. Actually, I'll just do it all caps. True or false. And the answer is actually false. And because the answer is false, I want them to explain their answer. And I am going to let them see sample classmates' responses just so that they can see examples of what their classmates say. Okay, so I'm going to preview. After school, Peter and Sissy go home in a taxi. Then they each go shopping. That's false. And now notice I have to explain my thinking. I'm going to say after school, Peter and Sissy go home on school bus. Then they walk together down the street. I'm going to share with the class, and then notice once students share with the class, three other students' responses would show up here. And students can edit their response, maybe, and that's okay because this is a review activity anyway. So let's say that they, when they see the response, they realize that they put here, they walk to the street or something like that. These are EL students, so maybe they see that somebody wrote it correctly, and so they edit their response and write it correctly, and that's perfectly okay because you as a teacher will be able to see the students changing responses, and as I said, this is review, so that's perfectly fine. Okay, so far we have 7 slides. Okay, I'm going to add another, and this time I am going to just make it an open question. So, what do Peter and Sissy, oops, see down the street? And how do they each feel? Okay, and I'm not going to let them see each other's responses, um, but I'm thinking I should add, in case they don't remember what they see down the street, I'm going to give them an image that they could look at. So I'm going to um, choose a file, and I'm going to choose that one. And this is actually what they see. They see two big rocks bullying a small rock. And I want to see if they remember how to say that, because that is part of their vocabulary, because they saw that here, where these three papers bullied Peter. So that vocabulary they've already seen. And then I also want to see if they remember how to respond. So I don't want them to see their classmates' responses. And I'm going to preview just to see what it looks like. So there's the image. What do Peter and Sissy see down the street? Okay, they should be able to say that that's what they see. And how do they each feel? Well, Peter is furious, or Peter is angry, but Sissy is afraid because, in the game of rock, paper, scissors, paper beats the rock, but rock beats the scissors. So, of course, Sissy has to be afraid. So I've added another matching activity for the students. I'm already at, I know this is a little long, but it's okay. It's not too bad. And now I am going to add, as you notice, I've already added a piece, and I am going to add an ordered list. So I'm going to grab the rest of the story. I'm already at the end. I'm just going to place them. He says here, grab the next part. Peter says, "Don't be afraid, Sissy, come here." Paste. Another. Sissy walks towards it. Oops. I'm just going to make it a little lower. So there. And Rocky picks a flower and gives it to Sissy. Paste. And the three new friends walk together and jump because they are happy. And paste. Now add the title. Organize the following statements. Put them in chronological order. Into preview, and there they are. There's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they can just grab and move them around. Okay, so that is the end. I'm going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to start with preview. So once again, the students will start by, as I like to put a check-in at the beginning, also to allow the other students to a little bit of time to get in here. So there it is. Which sloth are you? And then this is the beginning of the story. So place the beginning of the story in chronological order. And then this is the next part of the story. So they have to match the image with the description. And then here they study the images and describe what happens next in the story on the following slide. So remember, I made two, so I need to decide, do I want to keep it this way or do I want to keep it this way? And if I'm going to say on the following slide, I'm going to go in here. I'm glad I'm going over it. And remember these three dots? I'm going to delete component. So now I'm going to preview, study the images, and describe what happens next in the story on the following slide. So I'm going next. And then, so here they're going to type in their answer. Next, what is the scissors' name? Tihi, Susan, Sissy, or Sarah? And we know it's Sissy. Next. After school, Peter and Sissy go home in a taxi. Then they each go shopping. This is false. They have to explain their thinking. Even if they say true, they have to explain why it's true. And here, remember, once they type in their answer, I am allowing them to share with the class so that they see other classmates' responses. And if they want to change their response, they can. Then, what do Peter and Sissy see down the street and how do they each feel? So here I'm showing them an image of what they actually see, because this was vocabulary, rocks and bullying and big rocks and tiny rock and backpack, etc. Taking it away. And then here again, they are going to match the image with the description. And finally, they are going to organize the following statements, put them in chronological order. I'm going to pause there. So now, as you can see, I've added a reflection question. What questions do you have about today's lesson? They're going to type in their answer and submit. They're not sharing this with anyone. And then I'm going to go back to my, I copied this from Desmos, Screens for Checking for Understanding, and I'm going to copy this one. Where are you at today? Okay, so I'm going to copy this screen here. I'm going back here, and I'm going to paste. Control V. And I am going to, instead of where are you today, I'm going to ask how do you feel about today's lesson or about today's review. And then I'm going to say drag the point to the location that represents how you felt about today's review or today's story review. And then if you'd like, elaborate on your response. So they can elaborate here. Notice they are not going to share their response with anybody. And then here, interesting, confusing, it makes sense, or uninteresting. And then I'm going to preview just to see what that looks like. Drag the point so they can drag it and say, oh, it was interesting, but it was confusing, or it was interesting and it made sense, or it was uninteresting, but it did make sense, or it was both interesting and confusing, or uninteresting and confusing. So they can, whatever however they would like to respond to that. And that is all. Once you are finished, you are going to click here where it says publish. If you want to look through it one last time, you can. Take a look at that. Slide 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, reflection, and 12. And I'm going to publish. Yay, and it is done. Here is the student preview, and I can assign it. And I'll make a separate video for that.